time. And this is obviously our induction. It should be reasonably helpful, if nothing else, in allowing you and enabling you to work with the schools. So housekeeping, essentially, I think we've all now done it, but just mute because we've got a couple of speakers, just mute in prevent that reverberation or whatever it's called. The recording we've just covered. What I'd ask, because of the numbers, we were going to do kind of round robin introductions, but there's twofold really. One, I feel like I've done that every single group meeting since March 2020. But secondly, it wouldn't be the best use of time, being that I wanted to kind of stick to time. So if we can just put our names, contact details, where we're from and everything in the chat, and if you're happy for that to be circulated around afterwards, just to kind of begin to build that network of newer EAs, if you can just write that as well, just happy to share, that would be fantastic. So the how we're going to run through it today, we're going to have a background on the Careers and Enterprise Company, ourselves at the Heart of the Southwest Careers Hub, and a bit on the Enterprise Advisor Network. We're then going to look really kind of holistically at the role of the Enterprise Advisor and why we believe it works. We're going to briefly go over the Gatsby benchmarks. But I think with the Gatsby benchmarks, and I even think from doing this role, and I'm sure Simon will back me up on that, it is something that it's better explored when you're in the role and kind of interacting with them in meetings and discussing them with career leaders. So I won't spend too much time on those. There'll be a few kind of slides of resources and support for kind of getting you started, and then we'll obviously open up to questions. So before we go any further, just really quickly on introduction. So my name's Dan Morris, and I'm an enterprise coordinator, and I cover in Somerset, I cover the Taunton and the Sedgemoor area. And we also have Simon. If you want to introduce yourself.
Morning, everybody. My name is Simon Wainwright. Hello. I'm an EC Enterprise Coordinator for Plymouth Mainstream Schools.
Fantastic. And then we, in and out, we have Jackie. Jackie, you're here at this time.
Yeah, hello there. I'm Jackie. I have terrible internet provision and I can't wait to have fibre, which is about 3 weeks to go. So that's going to be great. I'm EC for South Somerset and Mendip. Lovely to see you all.
Lovely, thank you. Any questions you would like to ask during the presentation, if you want to use the chat for that, Simon and Jackie will be monitoring that. And if needed, they can just interrupt me and we can kind of have the discussion if it needs to be on a wider forum. So, the background on the Careers and Enterprise Company, I thought that was just repeating itself then. I thought that was a real oversight in my planning. Hopefully, we should have Susie right. Is Susie here? Yes?
Morning, everybody.
Yes. Over to you.
Thank you. So, morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Dan's got quite a lot on this agenda for 45 minutes. So, I feel like you only really need 2 minutes from me on a brief oversight of what's happening. So, my name's Susie. I'm in my 6th year now of working for Careers and Enterprise Company. I cover the wider Southwest area. So across my kind of patch, I've got 4 careers hubs and around 30 or 35 enterprise coordinators and hub leads. So we are in the fortunate position of having all of our schools and colleges now in a careers hub across the Southwest, which is great news. You're kind of based within the Heart of the Southwest Careers Hub, and Dan and Simon will talk more about that in a minute. But really just to say welcome and thank you for joining us. We are, I think, I haven't got the latest figure, but we have something like 3,500 enterprise advisors nationally, most of whom are matched to a school or college and are working in different ways to really help the school and college kind of move forward with their careers provision, to take a strategic look at what the school's plan is, and using the benchmarks, which Dan's going to talk through with you later on, how you can make a kind of an impact and a little bit of a difference in terms of maybe some suggestions of, you know, gaps that a school is not doing. Maybe you can connect them to some of your colleagues or other employers in your networks, and really just have a look at what's needed to move the school forward. And we know that schools are facing incredible challenges at the moment. They're all back and working really hard with their field hospitals doing the testing of their pupils at the moment, but So careers has been kind of on and off the agenda for the last year, but it's really trying to make that more of a focus as we move forward, and for the rest of this academic year. So lots of changes that we've had to make. Just to talk very, very briefly, we have funding from the Department for Education, which we use to, and we source local match funding to pay for the salaries of our enterprise coordinators and hub leads. So the good news is that we are in the negotiations with the Department for Education at the moment for next year's funding. It comes on a yearly basis, but what we like to look at it is as a kind of a 1-year settlement from DFE, but a 3-year plan. So we would confidently expect to be around for the next 3 years beyond the end of this academic year, trying to support schools and colleges with your help. So is that enough, Dan, or do you want a little bit more? Because you're going to run out of time otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Susie. If anyone's got any questions for Susie, if you can stick around for 2 or 3 minutes, Susie, before you jump back to your other meeting, is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, if you can use the chat for any questions for Susie. Otherwise, thank you very much, Susie, and we'll catch up very soon.
Welcome.
Okay, brilliant. So moving on, just this was literally a contingency in case Susie wasn't here. So these slides were just this essentially is the points that have been covered. So it's one of 33 careers hubs in the UK. 157 mainstream middle school, secondary schools, FE colleges, SEND and pupil referral units, and there are representatives, EAs like yourselves for all of those different educational establishments. The mission, again, that's kind of just been covered, strengthen the links between education and employment, raise the profile and quality of careers education, raise aspirations. Oh, and I thought there was a fourth one, but there really wasn't. And raise aspirations. I'm really quickly going to go through the I believe it's called an organogram. I heard the other day. I'd never heard of that word before, and I don't think I could even spell it. But organogram. So we've got Phil Adams as a senior manager for employment and skills at Devon County Council. We have Christine Norton as employment and skills manager. We have Victoria Gage as our hub lead. So now it kind of comes into our careers hub. We've got 3 senior enterprise coordinators, as our area is divided into 3 areas. So we've got the Plymouth and Torbay area with Nikki as the senior enterprise coordinator for that area and her team of enterprise coordinators beneath her. We've got Lisa that looks after Somerset and the team that sits beneath her. And then we've got Joe that looks after Devon and the team that sits beneath her. And then together, we all collaborate to support all of those schools that have been mentioned. So where are we now? We've got 155 schools and colleges in the hub. We've got 106 enterprise advisors within the hub at this point, and that should have been correct as of yesterday, as that was what Lisa gave me, so I apologize if that's wrong. We've got over 100 given hour volunteers. Now the given hour is for kind of all kinds of individuals that don't have what they perceive to be the time or the resources to be able to commit to an enterprise advisor role, or they don't feel like they want they don't want to be tied to one particular school to build up that relationship. They would rather kind of be more operational with an array of schools rather than strategic. And we have 13 cornerstone employers. Cornerstone employers are your larger Southwest employers. Examples of those are Babcock. Examples of those would be Devon County Council. It would be Wessex Water, who we're going to hear from, hopefully Simon Osborne in about 10 minutes time, from Wessex Water, who is an enterprise advisor. And the role of these cornerstone employers is to provide provision which doesn't directly benefit just one school. So the work that they do would be on a larger scale with the Careers Hub and with the Careers and Enterprise company nationally. So an example would be Wessex Water have changed their the way that they recruit apprentices for this year, and they're using innovative ideas. They've kind of abandoned CVs as they've felt that that doesn't work for young people, and they're using kind of initial declaration of interest for a role can be done over WhatsApp, for example, which we all know kids on their phones, WhatsApp's an easy way of just indicating, yes, I'm interested in that role. So they kind of work to pilot just strategic ways of doing things differently, and then that filters through into what we do and can then filter out into the network, and hopefully raises and innovates employer opportunities in the area. So the number of EAs, as Susie kind of alluded to, we had 1,300 in 2017, 2000, and it's got steadily higher. And we're now, as Susie said, across the whole network, across the whole of the UK, we're at 3,670. So the enterprise advisor network that you're part of, even though there's, 20 of you here today, it's part of a much wider vehicle. So look, I'm doing quite well for time, I think. 9:15, I'm flying. The role of the enterprise advisor and why it works. Our role as an enterprise coordinator, so that's myself, Simon, Jackie, and the rest of the Careers Hub, looks a little bit like this. We build networks, support the career leaders, and back the Gatsby benchmarks. I don't know why the next image looks how it looks, so I apologize, but your role looks more like this. So it seems like we're very much leveraging off of yours, and we're just kind of sitting back. But that isn't the case, I promise, and there is a lot that we do. But I'm just going to really briefly run you through each of these. A lot of them, there's a lot of overlap with them, and it isn't too dissimilar to what you've heard already today. So building relationships with the LEP and with the school SLT. With this one, building relationships with the LEP would be building relationships with ourselves, as we are kind of representative of the Heart of the Southwest LEP. But with the school SLT, this can be a challenging one, but it can also be a really impactful one. So the careers leader within a school isn't always on the school senior leadership team. Should probably have clarified for those that didn't know. SLT is the school senior leadership team, which is obviously your heads, deputies, and assistant heads. Occasionally includes department heads. But the careers leader doesn't always sit on that panel. So sometimes it's a case of, as in many organizations, where the career leader is almost pushing up all the time to try and get their agenda heard and recognized on the senior leadership level. Where we see an enterprise advisor working there is, these are struggles which are hopefully you're well versed in business, and you know how to get that voice heard. So whether it's requesting a meeting with the career leader and a representative from SLT, and just supporting that career leader to get their point across. There is also an element which doesn't, I'm just checking, come into this, where we try and get a governor from the governing body to have a careers focus on the governing body. And we found that to have a huge impact as well, as in when you've got a career leader who perhaps isn't on the senior leadership team kind of pushing up with the support of yourselves in a business an advisory position, and then you've got a governor, being that the school is always held accountable to its governing body through governance, as in many businesses, public sector businesses. That is a really helpful way of that voice being heard on the senior leadership level. This one is hopefully quite simple. We want you to be involved with the school, and we also want, whether that's in supply chains or whether that's through just people you know and you feel would be appropriate to work with the school, and just do the networking that a career leader, as you're probably more than aware, particularly at the moment, doesn't have time to do. So be that network of support. Strategic input, this is the where we try and gear our EAs towards. So there's two kind of roles in terms of support that schools ask for. There's operational and there's strategic. Strategic is more that oversight on the careers plan. Where is the career plan going? What support is needed for careers to be a bigger piece in the school, and all of the strategy that would go in behind that. Whereas the operational is the, we want to do this, can you support? Naturally, you're going to be drawn to the operational side of it and be able to suggest, we could do this together with the year 10s. How about I get with the business GCSE year 11 group and I deliver a talk on this? That is absolutely fine, and we wouldn't ever say don't do that. But what we also want you to keep an eye towards is the strategic side of it, of helping that career leader increase the presence of careers across the school, is a primary function of your role as well. So it's just kind of managing both sides of it. Be a business expert, no pressure, but we have recruited all of you, and you have expressed interest, and we have had conversations with you, and we believe that in the field that you are in, that you are have expertise significantly more than us and significantly more than the school and career leaders and their students. So we just want you to know that we value the knowledge that you have, and we will happily learn from you. So bring everything that you've got to the table. Evaluate this is something that schools really struggle with. Hopefully in private sector and companies that you work in, evaluation is a key part of how you make your decisions. You evaluate previous decisions, evaluate trends, and then you informs your decisions going forward. Schools and career leaders, some career leaders, it isn't their primary role. So they are also a class teacher or a class teacher and a head of department, for example, and career leader is a bit of a bolt-on. So their time to be able to look at their careers plan annually, evaluate what worked before, and evaluate that from both the students' perceptions, teachers, from parents, and from actual businesses that have come in. I think it's a big task. So we don't want you to, we're not expecting you, and it's not a labor intensive thing, we're not expecting you to come in and evaluate it all for them and go out to the teachers and go out, we're not expecting that, but we just want you to bring that experience of what is the most streamlined, efficient way to evaluate what's worked before and what hasn't, and how do you make those tangible changes that are small, simple steps, and just create the next careers plan together. Hopefully that kind of made a bit of sense. Critical friend, I kind of feel like this is a real overused phrase these days with critical friend, but it's more the being a sounding board for a career leader that's just struggling and being there. So you'll be going to the meetings that we have either every half term, every term, so every kind of 6 to 12 weeks, however it works with the school. But it's also just kind of reassuring that, you know, if you need someone just to kind of fire things off and be a sounding board, you're also there. So to kind of, we're not expecting that to be there straight away, but to build up over time. As we spoke about before, I wonder why that's a different colour. As we spoke about before, apologies for the different colour. Delivery is the operational side. So it is the if they need somebody to speak about employability skills, if they need somebody to support talking to a group of students, or to careers fairs, or I mean, you probably know that the raft of opportunities that are available through perhaps your own children, or seeing on LinkedIn all the companies that kind of say different things they're doing in schools. It's all of those elements. So it's the doing careers talks, doing careers fairs, doing mock interviews, etc. And champion, which you can't actually read when it's made that big. This is really disappointing when it gets big. Champion is in terms of just champion the Gatsby benchmarks. The Gatsby benchmarks, I'm going to come on to them later, but they're entrenched in research, they're international research, and they are what the Gatsby Foundation and the Careers and Enterprise believe leads to increased aspirations among young people. It leads to social mobility, which is incredibly important, particularly at the moment. So just work with us in championing that. And if you don't feel like you fully understand the benchmark, just literally ask and ask and ask until you fully understand why we're doing it and why we think it's important. So what does this look like in practice? Now, fingers crossed, Simon Osborne is here. If he isn't, we can skip back. Simon, are you here?
I am, Dan.
Yes, look at this. This is smooth. Okay, Simon, can you introduce yourself, even though I've introduced yourself for you with what I've written? I apologise.
Well, that's no problem. Good morning, everybody. As Dan has said on the slide there, Simon Osborne. I'm a delivery manager at Wessex Water. I work for Wessex Water's in-house construction division. So I manage some of our capital delivery projects, all sorts of different and varied schemes. My background, I'm a civil engineer, and I've been in the construction industry for longer than I care to remember, 25 odd years, big broad range of experience. I joined the enterprise on our intranet at work. It flashed up on one of our TVs. You know, are you interested in being an enterprise advisor? About 4 years ago, and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. So I made contact with one of Dan's predecessors, and that was 4 years ago. And this is my 4th year of doing it. I'm linked with a school in Burnham-on-Sea, King Alfred's Academy. The first year, I have to say, was pretty slow in getting some traction going and getting some discussion going with the school and engaging with the school, because I'm not sure they knew what the enterprise advisor role was going to do, and I wasn't sure how I could help them. But what I did know was that I did have a lot of experience. I've got a lot of network contacts. I know my way through the construction industry, but I know my way through management and interviewing people and what careers advice should look like. I believe I know I'm probably more geared towards the engineering side of it, but that's a bit of transferable skills. If you know and understand those sorts of dynamics and those sorts of approaches to dealing with things, then you can add some value, and that's what I felt I could do. So the first year was a little bit of a challenge, but the second year got better. Last year was better still because the school had structured themselves as become part of an academy, and they had a proper careers lead, and you could leverage off that, and they were very keen to engage. And then unfortunately we had this year. So this year we'd planned to do so much stuff, which just got sidelined, to be short. It was simple things like arranging site visits to come and see what it is that Wessex Water do, trying to get engaged in more careers fairs, attending in person to do our apprentice, promoting our apprenticeships and that sort of thing. So this year has had the chance, I guess, to take the wind right out of our sails. But we've tried to, the thing for me is I've made contact with the school, kept the contact going. It's about being, I guess in some ways, it's about just letting them know that you're still there. We will come out of this, and next year will be different. We will learn from this because we will do some things that we wouldn't have probably done. So we will do some things on Teams which we probably wouldn't have done before. And that engagement, I think, will get better because we can do things like this more regularly rather than everybody rocking up at the school. So I'm hoping that there'll be some things that come out of the positives that come out of this. What we have been able to do, again, it's a bit of horses for courses. I've been able to manage, offer up my services to the school to say, well, look, if I can't be there in person to offer that support, what about doing mock interviews? I've got 2 mock interviews next week with 2 students from the school. I have asked them to send me CVs. Can I look at your CVs or your personal statements? Can I ask you, can I engage with you that way and say, well, actually, rather than coming in and talking about it, generally about what I think a personal statement should look like and how you would deal with things from a point of view of job applications, I can do it now one-to-one because I can do it on Teams and I can have 15 or 20 minutes with a young adult and go, right, okay. And I've done that. I'm very fortunate. My wife actually is HR. She's involved in HR. So I leverage off her a little bit as well. So next week we've got an interview. She works for the NHS. Purely by chance, one of the young adults wants to do an interview to become, she's gone for a midwifery apprenticeship. I thought, oh, I've got the very person that can put you through that. And another one wants to do a soliciting. She's joined a legal firm for apprenticeship. And I've been able to, I'll be giving him a mock interview. So there's all these sorts of things that I probably wouldn't have done if we were just on that face-to-face in the old days, last year. So those are the things that we are able to do. Of course, we've joined we are privileged because we have, there's 3,000 of us, so we have our own early careers team, and it's been dragging them in. They have more than keen. I say drag, they're keen to do it. So we've done some online apprenticeship workshops and explained to them what we do as Wessex Water. We did that alongside Thatcher's Cider. So we did that as a joint thing. Now, normally we would have done that maybe face to face. So it's all of those sorts of things, just trying to use this technology in a way that we maybe not have done before. And don't, I did have to give an EA discussion a month or so ago, maybe before Christmas even. Don't be disheartened. Don't be disheartened that you can't sit in front of people. And I know if you're new to this and this is your first year, you're thinking, oh, crikey, I'm not adding any value here. It's just, I think a lot of it is just letting the school know that you're there. And if you've got a query or you've got a problem, just make contact. And you don't have to make me come into the school, and you don't have to come and see me at my office. We can do it on Teams now. So just be there to let them know that you're supporting. What have I got out of it? Dan's given me some little notes here. Actually, that's what I'm reading down through them. So what have I got out of it was the next one. Me personally, I found it very rewarding. I've got a part of my CPD, which is okay. That's great, but it's knowing that I can help influence and hopefully, from an engineering point of view, you're looking at the middle of the demographic in engineering, a middle-aged 50-year-old bloke, who is trying to get young people, increase the young people coming into the industry, increase the diversity of the people coming into the industry. So that is what I'm hoping to get out of it, because engineering, we are struggling to attract people to it. And if I can, whilst it's not just about engineering, of course, it's about linking up all of my networks, and a lot of them are engineering, but there's not just engineering, it's all over that spectrum of employment. And for the business as well, for the company, our social purpose, what we do, we're a big regional company, but we're regional. And if we can improve that engagement and raise the profile of Wessex Water and what we do, then that, as an added benefit, one of our measures, how we are judged as a water company is how people perceive us. What do they, not just because we're digging the road up and repairing leaks and putting traffic lights everywhere, it's because, well, actually my son might have nothing to do with that very physical interaction with traffic lights and getting on people's nerves. It's, oh, actually my son knows someone who worked for Wessex Water and he's helped him do this. It's all of that sort of thing that is helping to improve our social purpose, our engagement, and raising Wessex Water's profile as a business of what we do. I think that's probably my 10 minutes down, isn't it?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Simon. Thank you very much. And I think that last point is really important with the economic recovery. And I know Emma Hewitt's here, and I'm sure she could talk about economic recovery from an employment and skills standpoint and social purpose. But yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, Simon. Absolutely.
Any questions? I'm happy to answer any questions. If anybody has any.
Look at that, you took the words out of my mouth. We spent too much time together. If you have any questions for Simon, just put them in the chat, and I'm sure he'll respond just while he's here for the next few minutes. That'll be fantastic. So if you didn't realise, I managed to leave Zoom a moment ago, and I think probably scared Simon and Jackie, but I just abandoned them. But I'm back in, so I just need to reshare my screen, and I apologise. Okay. So we were up to here. Okay, right, we are, I promise, in like the last 12 minutes. I think I've timed this to as close to perfection as possible. Now, as I said about international research, there was and this does have, when I was putting this in, I did feel like I was doing a university assignment again. I had like a shudder of an all-nighter, but there is entrenched in a lot of international research. There is even more recent research on it, and all you have to do is look at any kind of FE news or even BBC News, click on the education, and there's usually something about careers now. There was even something this week about the deprivation of digital skills and how we need digital skills now. So I'm just going to kind of leave them up there. I'm not going to read you through them, but there is research behind what we're suggesting. And the most important point is that larger point at the end around reducing the incidence of becoming NEET, so not in education, employment or training. So we do believe that these employer engagements are incredibly important in reducing that statistic. And again, even more at the moment, the likelihood of becoming NEET increases because the employer pool, obviously the pool that employers have to choose from has vastly expanded. So the gaps we benchmarked, how many do you know? So this is just kind of check that you're still with us. So if you know none, write none in the chat. If you know some, write some. If you actually know them, what you think they are, and you think you know which benchmark number they are, you've got 30 seconds, and I've actually got it ready to be timed. If you know any, put them in the chat, and I'm going to check with Simon and Jackie in 30 seconds if anyone's written anything, or if you've just sat there awkwardly for 30 seconds. I don't know what's worse. I should have done the countdown thing. I should have put the countdown. That's 30 seconds, isn't it? That was a missed opportunity. Oh. Instead, we just got that awkward silence. 15 seconds left. 7 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. There was your 30. Right, Simon, do you want to run through what we've got?
Yeah, we've got a real mix, as you'd expect there, from none at all to some. I think that what we're reading there is that people are aware of the principles and the sort of framework behind Gatsby benchmarks, but actually the detail in those 8 benchmarks is obviously something that develops over time, and that's what we're here to do, to support you, to make sure that you understand them and the schools understand them, and that we're making best of them. So yeah, interesting. Thanks for feeding back on that one.
Thanks, Simon. Awesome. So these are your 8 Gatsby benchmarks. What I was conscious of and what I wanted to say at the start is we could have spent the whole 45 minutes talking to you about each individual benchmark, why it's important, with fantastic examples. These 8 benchmarks are what the schools report on every single term. So once at Christmas, around now, so there's a lot of us doing these meetings this week where the career leaders will fill out a report on their performance against these benchmarks. And again, at the end of the academic year in July, schools are at different places in them, and your school will be a vastly different place to the next person. If you were sat in a room, I guess that's a better analogy. If you sat in a room, essentially, the ones that we're struggling with at the moment is Gatsby 5 and 6 on the right hand side, which is your encounters, purely because it's virtual at this point, and there's a need for those encounters to be meaningful, and meaningful is generally dictated by the opportunity to ask questions, and it's a two-way encounter. So it's a big, almost like a bone of contention at the moment as to what that looks like in this virtual world, and it's one that we're struggling with, and I know the schools are definitely struggling with. They're putting on a webinar, for example, of having to, Simon, for example, can sit there and speak at a screen as I'm doing now with, and it could be with 10 children or it could be with 150 children. But is that meaningful? Just the opportunity that they could use the chat? Has all 150 children asked something in the chat? Has all 150 children wanted to be there because it's right for them, because it's the career that they're interested in? There's a lot that goes into that. So in a normal sense, it's a lot easier for a career leader to kind of work out what people want to do and direct them and get people in for the right students. But at the moment, it is 5 and 6 are a bit of a struggle. But as with these benchmarks, the reason I don't want to focus on them is A, you're giving up your time to be here already, and B, it's something that you're just going to become more and more acquainted with as you meet with your career leader and your enterprise coordinator. There are going to be links in a moment with resources that if you wanted to peruse at leisure in your free time, then you could do that. In terms of what we report on and why this is important, I know that this is something you're probably squinting going, why has he just put loads of numbers on the screen? I don't know where to look. I want you just to look at the dark, I did say dark blue, I think it's probably dark green on this light. That must have been weird lighting. I want you to focus in on the third line, the one that is showing that it's increasing. And all I want that to show is the schools that are in our hub, which were established in 2018, and the schools that have an enterprise advisor and engage with us, they perform better and report better progress against the Gatsby benchmarks. There you go. there's my arrow. So resources and support. There is the Careers and Enterprise website, where they've got a section specifically for enterprise advisor resources. That has everything from watching webinars from the CEC about what their version of this. There is all sorts. I don't want to waste your time by running you through them. What I'll do is when I follow this induction up with the email afterwards, I'll put the link to this website, and then you've got the option just to have a look and to acquaint yourself with the tools and materials. There's also a Heart of the Southwest Skills Launchpad. Now, a lot of this stuff is from our team, and it is primarily for career leaders or for parents or for teachers. It's not necessarily for enterprise advisors, but the reason I've put it on here is it just gives you a flavour of the types of things that exist already for schools and what's being done by companies. So a lot of them are videos, or they're actual resources that can be printed off and given to students. So again, it will be a link that I put in the follow-up email, and I just think it's helpful for you to have a look and see what's already going on and what is already available to schools to kind of get that wider, rounder picture in your head. Other support, obviously your enterprise coordinator that you're going to be working with is going to be a large element of your support. The school and career leaders that you interact with, and the enterprise advisor network, and that's each other. So what I just wanted to leave with you is this isn't it. It's not thanks very much for being on board and then we leave you to be with your enterprise coordinator in your school. You can do that, and that's absolutely fine. We're not going to take it offensively. But if you wanted to kind of keep interacting, we have enterprise advisor meetings, and we do them geographically. So there'll be a Somerset enterprise coordinator meeting, a Devon, and a Plymouth and Torbay enterprise coordinator meeting. And sometimes they go even smaller, and there can be smaller meetings within that. And what we want to do is we bring you together. We present the local data, so it isn't so general as this. It will be relevant to your school and your area, and then we look at common themes, and we look at how we can overcome those and work together with solutions, and we leverage off each other. And also we just give opportunity as well, just for networking, which is really nice. Just be able to meet people you wouldn't necessarily meet in potentially your day-to-day life. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if there's any questions, feel free to. I'll allow you to. I think you can put your hand up now. I'm fairly sure that if you go to participants and then the arrow, I think you can put your hand up. That might be the easiest way to do it if you have any questions.
Reactions, Dan. I think if you click reactions, you can click raise hand, or just physically raise your hand.
Or you can physically raise your hand. Yeah. If there aren't any questions, that is 5 minutes under, which is fantastic. Everyone likes a meeting that finishes early. But we've got Vicky. Is that right? Is your hand raised, or were you?
Yeah, no, my hand's raised. Sorry, I've just got one. I hate to ruin everyone's when they're like, "Oh, I can get away early." It's only one question though. I'm new to this. I'm very new. I wondered, when we're so new, will we get support from yourselves and the other career people to sort of embed that Gatsby benchmarks rather than just be expected to just know it all? Do you see what I mean? I'm thinking I'm a little bit nervous about it because I'm not experienced in that area.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Great question. So when I say it comes down to the meetings, I think the version of me and the version of Simon, the version of Jackie that you work with is aware of your starting point and isn't expecting you to kind of go in there and be like, right, Gatsby benchmark 4, this is what I've thought about, this is my ideas, I've looked at a website and I reckon we should do this. It's definitely what I would ask you to do is just chat with your enterprise coordinator to get an understanding of the school, so they can send you the previous Gatsby report so you know what their percentages are. You can then have a conversation about what are the challenges, what's the infrastructure around them, whether the career leader is on the SLT, whether they're kind of just within the school, like the main staff of the school, and just try and get that well-rounded picture. And then also don't feel like you need to completely contribute straight away. It's a journey. It's not a impact straight away, because we want you to build up that relationship with the school, and we're hoping this is something that lasts for a long time. So we're not expecting immediate impact. Do not worry at all. I don't even think I've been doing this 6 months and I'm not convinced of my own impact, so don't worry.
Can I just add to that, Dan, as Vicky's enterprise coordinator, and as Vicky said, she's extremely new, so it's often there's things that we assume, because we've been in it a little while, that perhaps you guys don't. So do always reach out to us, and actually we can have individual meetings between ourselves and yourselves, you know, independent of the schools, so we can look at the strategies, look at what might be the best intervention in that particular instance. So it's not all about having to perform, you know, and understand all this knowledge straight off the bat. So in short, don't worry, Vicky, we'll look after you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, if there's any more questions, I can see everyone on one screen now, so if you can physically put your hand up. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us, and have an amazing day and have a great weekend when you get there. Thanks.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.